Alright everybody, how we doing today? I'm a little tired, but I'm gonna keep going anyway. That's how we do. That is how we do. But Reuters, it says U.S. border arrests dropped again in November amid Trump crackdown on migrant crossers. The Border Patrol arrested about 34,000 migrants at the U.S.-Mexico border in November, a 75% drop from a recent high point in May, according to statistics released on Monday by U.S. Customs and Border Protection. Border arrests, which are used to estimate illegal crossings, initially plummeted after U.S. President Donald Trump took office in January 2017. However, they soared in the spring to monthly levels higher than those under Trump's predecessor, former President Barack Obama. The Trump administration credits the decline to tougher asylum policies and increased cooperation with Mexico and Central American nations. Still, the decrease only brings the arrest figures in line with the average November over the past decade. Acting Customs and Border Protections Commissioner Mark Morgan said on Monday that Congress needs to take legislative action to discourage illegal crossings in the long term. This is not durable and sustainable, Morgan said at a news conference in Washington. We should not be looking to the government of Mexico and the Northern Triangle countries to solve the loopholes in our current legal framework, he said, referring to Guatemala, Honduras, and El Salvador. The number of migrant family members arrested at the border dropped to 9,000 in November from roughly 9,700 a month earlier, continuing a downward trend. Morgan touted a Trump administration program known as the Migrant Protection Protocols as part of a network of initiatives that had discouraged migrants from trekking to the United States. A Customs and Border Protection official said on Monday that roughly 54,000 migrants had been sent to Mexico through the program, a figure revised down from 59,000 last month. The agency audited its data in November and found some migrants had been counted twice after attempting to re-enter the United States, the official said. And while I don't doubt that there's some actual flaws in the migration system, I think we're going about this all wrong. You have to question yourself, why are they crossing illegally in the first place rather than going through the legal process? Why is that? And the reason is quite obvious. It's because the legal process has been made deliberately difficult and off-putting in an attempt to limit the number of people who'd want to do it. However, does this discourage them from entering the country at all? No, it in fact encourages them to enter illegally, because that's so much easier than doing it the legal way. If you want them to immigrate legally, then make the process easier. Make it less discouraging. And then the problem will be solved, at least in that part. As for the holes in the network, I think you should identify them and then sort and plug them where you can. You know, take it one step at a time and work on it over a period, if necessary. Right? When the only tool you have is a hammer, everything starts to look like a nail. When really you need a fucking screwdriver, and do it with delicacy and take it apart one piece at a time. Otherwise, you just end up breaking it. But a report released last week by the New York City-based organization Human Rights first found at least 636 publicly reported cases of kidnapping, rape, torture, assault, and other violent attacks against migrants sent to Mexico under the program. Morgan rejected the idea that the Trump administration was responsible for attacks on migrants waiting in Mexico and blamed criminal organizations. While the overall number of families encountered at the border decreased in November, the Border Patrol recently has encountered more Mexican family members, the acting commissioner said. Morgan said smugglers were constantly modifying their approach to continue to make money and exploit migrants from everywhere. That's another thing migration to other countries seems to attract. Human traffickers, shysters, all kinds of sick people who want to do sick things to people. That in itself is a problem, which is why you might want to discourage migration. But what are they going to do? They're coming here for a reason. That's because the places they come from are in bad shape. They're very bad shape. But I think Trump needs to lay off on the emotionally loaded language, which seems to be fueling the negative behaviors of some far-right political extremists who go around attacking people, and often using the same language Trump used. Coincidence? I think not. Now, I know that's normally a left-wing talking point, but you gotta ask yourself, are they wrong? And the answer is no. No, they are not. Human beings are not as free as you think. Libertarian free will is nonsense. Even though, politically speaking, I am a libertarian, I do not believe in absolute free will. we are limited in our ability to choose by motive. It is motivation that creates choice, but also limits us to one or two options. That's human nature. He motivated those people to do those things, whether he realized it or not, with the emotionally loaded language. If he would just lay off and speak to a more matter of fact, and just speak his opinion in a more reasonable way, I think you'd be seeing less of that. You'd be seeing a lot less of it. But there's so many ethical dilemmas and other issues surrounding, the whole issue of illegal immigration. There's a lot to deal with. And I don't think there's really any one solution to it. I just say, the gaps in the border policy, sort and plug them where you can, and try and make the legal immigration process more enticing, more palatable, so that people will be less likely to want to cross in illegally. And also change the policy on what happens when they get caught after they come here illegally. Instead of allowing them to file for asylum, make it the law that they can only file for asylum if they've crossed legally. They don't get asylum if they come here illegally. You will see illegal immigration drop. And it'll become less of a problem. Those two things could do so much. An easier legal process and a less powerful illegal process. What more could you hope for? Anyway, peace.